Hello. I can't really think of a good game to play in the background that I haven't already played. So y'all can just look at my screen this time. But in any case, this is my fourth installment of the audio journal series. Hide. So today I wanted to talk about, well, there's a main topic that I want to get to, but there's a certain amount of groundwork I would have to lay. So it's kind of like one story that leads into another. So I'll start off by saying, way back when the pandemic started, I found myself at home all the time and I was just, like, so bored, out of my mind. And pretty sure everyone was pretty depressed during the quarantine. I was no exception. It was really sucked ass, the whole thing, didn't it? So I decided, as one thing to do, just as one pastime, basically, I wanted to take exercise more seriously and, like, yeah, just get out more, like work out more. So one thing I did at one point, I measured all of my hallways. I measured my hallways with a tape measure, and then I did the math. To find out how many times I would have to walk up and down each hallway for it to equal 1 mile. And I did this with, like, every hallway. So then I walked up and down each hallway a certain number of times, until it was the equivalent of a marathon. So over the course of, like, a week, I walked a marathon in total, like the distance I walked. And that was just a fun little pastime I had. Now, coincidentally, around this time, obviously people were starting to work from home way more. And my dad couldn't go into work in person, but nobody else could either. By chance, at his workplace, they had a workout equipment just for the workers. It was just there. Never heard of a workplace doing it before now. But yeah, they had, like, machines and stuff. So they let him, he requested it, his bosses, they let him take it all home. So I helped him do that one day. So then I had just had a few workout machines at home in their own little room. We had one machine on which you could do chest presses, leg extensions, and lateral pull downs. Those were your options on the machine. And we also had one pull-up bar, two 30-pound dumbbells, and an 80-pound barbell. And again, so this is a period of my life where I'm trying to get more active, trying to do all that stuff. So I started using all that. So for the longest time, that's all that I could work out with. So eventually I get good at all the lifts that I can do, like, bicep curls and shoulder presses and the like. I mean, it's nothing crazy. I can't do, like, lateral raises with the 30s, but I can get up to the 30s in pretty much any given exercise that it can be reasonably expected. Like the skull crushers for your triceps. So that happened. And that's just how it was for a while. So I knew I could squat 100 pounds many times very easily, but I didn't know what my max was. And I just recently, I'm realizing almost every story I tell, eventually it includes the line, and I just recently got my license, so I could do that now. Like, my life has gotten way more interesting now that I can drive around and do things. Anyways, so I just recently got my license, so I am able to drive myself to the gym. So I started going to a public gym. And it's a really neat experience. I've gotten to find out like how strong I actually am. And the answer is I can get in the low 100s on just about everything on the machines. Like on chest press, I can do a pull down with one hand with 90 pounds on a machine that like separates the hands for lateral pull downs. And like shoulder presses, I can get into the like 60s, 70s. I forget if I put 245s on the shoulder press. So, anyways, and again, I have that injury in my back that I talked about just last one of these. So, I can't do free weights, which kind of sucks because I'd like to, but I can't. I prefer them because specifically because you also have to work your back, so it feels like a more well-rounded workout. But now working my back is the thing I can't do under any circumstance. So I can't do those. I got to do the machines. I can max out the quad machine, the leg extensions. At the gym I go to, the maximum for that is just 300 pounds, and I can do that for like 5 reps. It's tiring, obviously, but I can do it. On the hip adductors, adductors, I think it's adductors. I can get into the 200s, low 200s. And I'm proud of all that. I'm happy with all that, and it's been fun finding all that out. But also the thing is, the neat thing about going to a public gym is this was my first experience using like a public locker room, because I opted to take PE as an online course over the summer. So that way I could just ride my bike for an hour and log that and then also do all their health modules. But I was specifically avoiding ever having to deal with being in a locker room or some shit like that at my school, or having to do physical exercise in front of everyone else while all my classmates are in the room and they're all doing it too. Gross. I would hate it. So I did what I could to get out of that. So when I'm when I'm going to a public gym, it's like, hygiene is very important. You got to shower after your workout. They provide showers for a good reason, so I knew I couldn't just skip out on that. Even just like, had I not used the locker room, I obviously would have gone straight home and immediately showered. But having the shower right there in the same building, and you can get clean immediately, and you don't have to spend any time sweaty, and you don't have to drive home in your dirty clothes, that's obviously way better. So I knew I would have to suck it up. So I started doing that. I would have a little bag where I just bring a change of clothes. That'll drop off in the locker. But I must admit, it's scary. It makes you nervous the first few times you walk into a locker room and you got to take a shower in there. I know it's like a stereotype how there's like, oh, there's always a naked old guy in the locker room. I didn't think that would be as true as it is. I've heard people make jokes about that, how there's always a naked old guy in the men's locker room. It's like a very common stereotype that I hear about. I didn't realize, like, I had just taken it as just a joke whenever I heard people talk about it. I didn't realize how true it was, but it's very true. It's a completely accurate stereotype. It's exactly what to expect. There's just a unreasonable amount of naked old guys just walking around in the locker room. Like, why do they do that? Like the only whenever I shower in the locker room, I will because they have curtains and individual stalls for the showers. So I'll just get behind the curtain and bring all my clothes in there and change whilst in the shower itself, but the water's not turned on. I'll just do that. And that's better, I think. I guess it's just because old guys don't care as much. I don't think it's because they are unaware of what they're doing in any way. Not at all. I think I think you grow out of caring past a certain point, really. Um, like, who knows? Maybe when I'm a really old guy, I'm sure I'll remember having thought this at the earlier point of my life, But maybe I'll have grown too old to care that other young men will think that. Maybe I'll just think I'm just going to do what I'm going to do. It's easier this way. It's more convenient. It's interesting to think really how my perspective can change. I feel like you think of things as like absolutes when you're younger. Like, young people don't just have those silly beliefs, but they're so convinced of them, and I think that's what kind of makes them silly. Like, I never thought it made, like, I was convinced earlier in my life that I'd always be mad at my parents for sending me to bed early and making me go to sleep. Like, I saw that as a punishment when I was a kid, and I was firm in that belief, and so is every single kid at that age, and with the same thing. But now that I'm even just a little bit older, I see it like they were just trying to help. Like, you can be so convinced of something and then just totally switch. Anyways, I got off topic. That's not what the video was about. It was about the whole thing with the gym. The gym I go to is cool because it also has a sauna. So this was also, in addition to being my first experience ever using a public locker room when I started going to this gym, I also got to experience my first time in a sauna. Honestly, I don't know how much I would really recommend it. Because I didn't dislike it, I don't think. I stayed in there for a few minutes. But I didn't like it all that much. And of course, there was a naked old guy in there in the sauna. That could probably happen on any given day. I see more old men in the locker room than I ever see actually working out in the gym part. It makes me wonder if they actually do work out at that age. I've seen like one old man, like, okay, at this gym I go to, there's this one old guy that's there every single day at the same time as me. I walk in, he's already on the goddamn Stairmaster. I walk out, he hasn't left that Stairmaster. Like, does he get off in between the times where I'm not there? Or is he just on that Stairmaster all the time? Like, I've never seen him not just climbing the top of those stairs, hunched over as hell. I wonder if every public gym has something like that. Because it's enough for it to be a stereotype that most men know about the naked old guys in the gym. I'm in the locker room, not in the gym itself, but like, that's come to be a stereotype and something that people joke about often. So, like, what other things are things that all gyms have? There's also like the chewed up tricep rope. I'm sure everybody knows about that. I wonder if it's just a male thing. I wonder if it's just men that do that. Because I've only ever heard it from men, but I also only would ever really be talking about any sort of experience in a gym locker room with a man, presumably, right? Because otherwise it might be kind of strange. And you only assume you have shared experiences with someone who's been in that same space, But how different are they really? I've been like half asleep for this entire video. Like, my eyes have actually been closed, but I've just forced myself to keep talking. Turns out my absolute maximum on my very best day for pull-ups is 5 and like a little half rep at the end. And that's without like touching my feet back on the floor or anything like that. But the vast majority of days, I can't do anything like that. I can only do like 1. Also, cable lateral raises will really humble you. Because I've been talking about how I can get to like 100 some on all those other machines, and like the tricep push downs and the bicep curls, all those, I'm somewhere comfortably in the hundreds. Pounds, that is, guys. Hope there's not any confused Europeans watching. But for cable lateral raises, my maximum was 12 and a half pounds. It's so embarrassing. Given that I worked out at home, I was going to touch on this eventually, I just remembered. Given that I worked out at home all those years, I had never tried bench pressing. I didn't have a bench with which I could properly set the weight up and do the press. So I had never bench pressed. But I had done all these other exercises, and I tried with my gym buddy for the first time today to try out bench pressing, and I hit 135 for 5 on my first try. So I'm pretty proud of myself. We tried 155, but I didn't rest well after doing the 135. So I did one little half rep of that and then failed it immediately after. But I'm confident that I could hit 155 pretty easily if I prepared for it properly. And that's one thing that you can never remember is to stretch beforehand. Stretching is very, very important. I'll always go to that little part in the back that they have with all the yoga mats and do my stretches. That's one difference I've definitely noticed with men and women in the gym is I don't see as many men stretching, which sucks for them because stretching's good, flexibility's good. I've always been somewhat into physical activity. I actually used to do gymnastics as a kid, but I kind of sucked ass at gymnastics on the coordination front. So all I've retained is the flexibility. But that's probably why I have the strong perspective that I do on stretching. That was kind of drilled into me. But it's totally worth it because I'm able to do the splits nowadays. You know, I have that strength to me, but the flexibility is good too. Flexibility is good too. I talked about it when I did the nerve damage video about how when I went to a physical therapist, they gave me a whole stretch routine, a little regiment that I had to keep up with. And I touched also on that video about how easily the most immediately relieving and efficient stretch they gave me was also easily the most humiliating to do. Because it's that one where you have to get into a squat position and then shuffle side to side with a resistance band wrapped around your legs. The gym I go to doesn't offer resistance bands. So I can't do that stretch. But I want to because I know it's the best stretch for what's happened to my back. But at the same time I don't want to because it's a public gym. And there are people there, sometimes even people my age. And they'd see me doing that. They'd see me doing that stupid looking stretch where I look stupid the whole time. But like I know it's good for me and it helps me. And at the end of the day, I know which one I'm really more worried about. I'm more worried about my own health. But that's not the one that I'm most able to act on, even though objectively I recognize it as much more important. It sucks how it works out that way. I'm sure I'm not nearly the only one for that. Do I have anything else? Anything else to talk about with the gym? I don't think so. I think that was it. Went for a good 19 minutes though. Almost. Okay, bye.